This is the building of the Catalan Parliament, historic building, sealed off, literally sealed off by the troops and partisans of Generalissimo Franco, and remained closed throughout the long years, the 4 decades of dictatorship. This parliament was reopened only after Franco had gone, and is now the venue of important political discussions. In this parliament, there is now a majority of parties who believe that Catalunya should become an independent republic. So there's going to be a lot of action in this building before long. Meanwhile, I'm now going to go and talk to Kim Arufat, who is one of the main leaders of the COP, the radical left, socialist, feminist, independence party, which has 10 members of this parliament, 400 members in local councils all over Catalonia, and is bound to play an important role in the struggles that lie ahead. Kim, the opinion polls in Spain are showing that 3 parties will dominate the Cortes, the next Spanish parliament: the PP, the Conservative Party, which will not get an overall majority, the PSOE, the Socialist Party, and Ciudadanos, the third party which has arisen. Now, most people know about the first 2 parties. Let's explore the third party and its development. What is this party?
It has appeared in Spain in the last year, but it was born 10 years ago here in Catalonia. It was born as a radical Spanish nationalist reaction to Catalan politics, to the broad Catalan nationalism that had the vast majority of the Catalan parliament. It defended at the beginning with very radical ideas the rights, the supposed rights of violated rights of Spanish-speaking people in Catalonia, which were not so violated, but they considered it was enough with the development of the autonomy in Catalonia, and they created this party. It had at the beginning lots of ties with the extreme right, but since 1 year it has changed almost completely the face, this party, and it has been taken by the medias in Spain to promote a third way in Spain between PSOE and Partido Popular to stop the growing of Podemos and to catch all votes that were escaping from Partido Popular and PSOE because of corruption. And as it is a new party, it has no corruption, or it has just a little bit of corruption because it is a new party. So all medias have helped it to grow up until becoming the third main party in Spain.
Given that it's unlikely that the PP will get an overall majority, the chances then seem to be that the Socialist Party, PSOE, and Ciudadanos will form a coalition.
Yeah, it is most likely, maybe, that PSOE and Ciudadanos form a coalition. There are talkings about among them, between them. But Partido Popular, Ciudadanos, they could make a coalition also. So Ciudadanos actually it can fit in the 2 ways. It is an empty party.
But the picture you're painting is very realistic, I think, but it's quite depressing. That after the crisis of 2008, effectively 3 conservative neoliberal parties, the parties of the extreme center, are going to dominate this next Spanish parliament.
But it is depressive for us, but not for everyone. I mean, if you read the press of the banks of Spain, they are very happy because they want to make out of Spain the same Spain as it was 7 years ago, a Spain growing economically very fast through speculation, through finances. It was called the miracle of the Spanish
Spanish
economy.
miracle.
Yeah, the Spanish miracle. They want to go back in that sense, so they need a more efficient administration, less decentralized state, less labor rights, less democratic rights, less political parties represented in parliaments like us, because we are anti-system or whatever they call us, etc. And they are very happy. And middle class in Spain, they were attacked a lot by the economy, by the banks, but they dream of going back to the time before the crisis. So and they are working on in that sense.
So the people, many people who broke away from the system, say in the indignados, these people are effectively, or some of them, because the indignados had different currents within it. But you're saying that there was a current in the indignados which was against the status quo because the status quo had let them down. But if that same system could be recreated before, as existed before the crisis, some of them would go back.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Because there's a problem that it is not only in Spain, it's in whole Europe, which is the alternative.
Yeah.
So they are angry. Their rights were violated, so they were evicted from their houses, but which is the alternative? Syriza, and the case of Greece, has created a great problem to the alternatives in Spain, because they had a majority. They won the referendum, so you cannot dream of more popular support than they had in Greece, and they lost. They lost at the end. So they just signed what they were saying they were fighting against.
So effectively, the capitulation of Syriza and the decision by Tsipras to accept the Troika demands to become part, if you like, of this traditional mainstream party politics has had a huge effect in Spain as well.
In whole Southern Europe, and I would say in whole Europe. So it is very difficult for the worker class in Europe to create an idea of a different Europe, of a different economy. It has been and it is very difficult. And Syriza represented one of these occasions of opening a new way in Europe, and we lost it. We lost as worker class in whole Southern Europe and in whole Europe. And it will affect a lot the results, for example, of Podemos. I will tell you a story. 1 year ago, I was speaking with a representative of the Conservative Party here in this parliament, and I was saying to him that Podemos was growing a lot. So it would be a danger for the status quo in Spain. So a hope for the working class of this country, of Spain. And he answered me, what, Podemos? Podemos isn't the same as Syriza, and I said, yeah, they are very near. Yeah, so it won't be any problem. We will European powers will
Crush Syriza.
Yeah, will crush Syriza, and after Syriza, Podemos will have no sense. And it was said 1 year ago. One conservative leader said it to me in a conversation.
He was right.
He was right. He was very realistic, or he knew what they were planning to do in Europe with citizens.
Kim, tell me now about your party, the COP, the Candidates of Popular Unity. You have 10 seats in the Catalan Parliament, and even more importantly, you have 400 councillors in the local governments all over Catalonia. Tell me how your party developed and what your strategy is.
The CUP, the Candidatura d'Unitat Popular, it was born at the end of the dictatorship as an attempt of some militants to make a party, an independentist leftist party in Catalonia, but it had no success, so the name remained
unknown.
Yeah, and we took it back about 12 years ago. We started to build a grassroots movement at the local level. Opening social centers and starting to get the first city councillors, making local politics and creating cooperatives and making social movement. Our main concern was that we saw that the leftist movement, the social movement, the organized movement of this country, which has been very, very strong in the past, in the dictatorship, in the civil war, very strong, had no more structures in the street, had no more strength in the street, and we wanted to create it. So we started at the local level, where politics are more human, and then we started to grow.
You are the only leftist party within the independence movement as a whole.
Well, there are two independentist parties in these elections. There were, which have won the majority of the seats of the parliament. Our, which is anti-capitalist, leftist, socialist, feminist, and pro-independence, but it is the smallest one, 10 seats, and then a broad coalition of the center-right and center-left independentist parties, which are Convergència Democràtica and the historical Esquerra Republicana, which was the ruling party in the Republic in the 30s in Catalonia. And they made a coalition together with other social associations or civil associations, and they won the elections with 62 seats. And together with our vote, it makes a majority of the seats for independence in Catalonia.
And the other side?
And the other side, there are four parties. The three Spanish nationalist parties, which represents more or less a third of the Catalan parliament, and a coalition between United Left, the Greens, and Podemos, which had 11 seats in the elections. And they are not Spanish nationalists, they are not independentists. They
support the right to have a referendum?
They support the right to have a referendum, they defend it, and of course they are leftists. The problem is not about majorities for the referendum. The problem is that we will never have a referendum within Spain. This is our tragedy. We will not have a civilized debate on our future as a people, as a society within the Spanish state, as Scotland had. This is a tragedy, because it should not happen in democracy.
No.
It is not an adult debate. It is a state that behaves towards its people in Catalonia and in the rest of Spain, because it is the same behavior. As we were not adults, as we were just members of a kingdom, so just not citizens, just clients or something that cannot decide on their own.
Kim, in today's newspapers, I read a statement by Joaquin Alsina, important leader of the Spanish Socialist Party in the Madrid region, in which he said that the Catalan independistas were the same as the Basque terrorists, and he suggested that violence was on the agenda in Catalonia as well.
They became crazy. As far as you don't accept there is a political debate, that somebody can win, other can lose, or it can create new ideas or whatever, as far as you don't recognize it, you have to tell your people a big amount of lies, and you have to make the problem a bigger problem, like starting speaking about violence, terrorism, things that are not existing in Catalonia. Nobody's thinking about it. Everyone is against any kind of violence.
In the 70s, at the height of the struggle against Francoism and the movements, Joaquin Alsina and his partner, came to London. They were in the underground. They stayed in my apartment, my tiny apartment in North London. In other words, we gave them refuge because they were fighting against Franco. And today, they are speaking like Franco, because the language that is being used is Franquista language. Centralized state.
Criminalizing any opposition.
Criminalizing any serious opposition in the provinces which are a minority, so to speak.
Yeah.
And tell me something. Even in the Basque country now, this is a slander, because there's no armed struggle. They have either given up or got rid of their weapons. The Basque leftists are appealing month after month to the European Union to intervene and force the Spanish state to accept them as a legitimate organization, which the Spanish government refuses to accept. So it's not just lying about Catalonia, it's also lying about the Basque country.
And about many other social groups in Spain. It is not a question only between Catalonia and Spain. It is a question of a very centralized state or with a very centralizing mind that just plays with its citizens, not as citizens, but as people who have to obey. The question about Leguina and that period against Franco is a very interesting question that somebody has to open one day. Were they fighting for socialism or for radical democracy or for an alternative project, or were they fighting for modernizing Spain and putting it in Europe? It is a very different question. So many of the people who were apparently leftists or revolutionaries, actually they wanted only to put Spain in the club in normality. But they were wearing red flags, which were a trending dress at that time.
And then the parties, they decided to join many of these people, participated in the Moncloa agreements, which left much of the structure intact, except that instead of being a republic, it went worse, it became a monarchy. That too was part of the deal. And now the monarchy too in Spain has been shown to be just as corrupt as the politicians.
Yeah, but monarchy is actually, it is a problem, but it is not a very important problem. There are bigger problems in everything what happened at that time. The agreements in transition were made on the basis that nobody would ask for the past of nobody. It means all the killers, or the fascists, or the big enterprises and big banks that were made under the dictatorship against the workers, nobody would ask them.
Bury the past.
Yeah, and it has its consequences. In Spain there are two media empires. One of them belongs to a man living in Barcelona, whose father was a high commander of the Francoist army that entered in Barcelona for occupy the city.
He was a general?
He was a high commander, I don't know, a general or a colonel or whatever, but he was a high commander of the army. He entered here with the time he became president of the journalist trade union of the regime, and he created a media empire, and now this is the second biggest media empire in Spain. And what are they promoting in their debates, in their programs on TV? They are promoting Ciudadanos, they are promoting PSOE, they are promoting PP, and they are putting apart Podemos, and they are telling so many lies about Catalan independence or about any other alternative project within Spain. This has consequences, because that media empire was not made through fair procedures. It was made by Francoists, and it is ruled by Francoists.
What was the name of this guy?
José Manuel Lara. It is the owner of the Grupo Planeta, which is at the same time the owner of this empire. And this is the story of many business people here in Spain, and the story of all banks in Spain. They were born under dictatorship. They are ruling this crisis. It's not the parties which are ruling this crisis. The banks are ruling this crisis, this economical crisis, and the exit of this crisis. And they are writing now the reform of the constitution.
And which is the other empire?
The other empire is participated in among other capitalists by Berlusconi.
So one of the big media kings is the son of one of Franco's chief army officers who set it up, and the other empire is owned by Silvio Berlusconi.
Yeah, but it happens in. I don't know if it is only happening in Spain, but I think it is a very common thing.
Yes.
When we proposed here in the parliament in the last period to make a media law like in Ecuador, that to distribute all the digital channels in 3 ways: 1/3 public channels, 1/3 social channels for civil associations, and 1/3 private channels. They were angry. They were attacking us. You are against democracy. You are Chavezist. You are North Korea. You want to impose a dictatorship, because they know their empire has some structural pillars, and one of them is to control all media of this society.
2 other questions really, Kim, which we should discuss. One is that within the nationalist movement and the independentista movement in Catalunya, and represented in this parliament, you have conservative forces. So that if Catalonia, let's just imagine, if somehow Catalonia became independent, you would have a different set of businessmen running the country to start off with,
Maybe.
with very similar ideas as to those that exist now, and led by a party whose corruption was recently exposed in a most dramatic way with the Pujol affair. So how would that change anything? I ask this because it's a question many people in Europe ask.
Of course, yeah.
What will you put in the space?
Of course, we are working to have a leftist majority in this country. But we consider that creating a new republic in Southern Europe now, it is an opportunity. An opportunity means you can play it and you can lose it. An opportunity to create a different state. A constituency process which can be won by social majorities that apply for little big reforms of what a state in Europe is now. So, for example, a state without army. Nobody in Catalonia believes in the army.
So you would have a police force but no army?
For example. Or for example, in Catalonia, people love voting, love deciding. They love it because they have built their identity against dictatorship and against the decision of not letting us vote. So you can have a more democratic state. It is an opportunity. You can play, but between defending the unity of Spain and trying to create a new country and opening this opportunity, we stay here. We stay here. We need, in Southern Europe, we need like water. We say it in Spanish like this, and in Catalan, but we need like water that somebody, be it Syriza, Podemos, if they can, now they are very far away of making a democratic revolution in Spain, or we, the Catalans, or whatever, make a great change. Start creating a new reality. I hope if somebody starts, maybe things start to change, in other countries. The problem is that there is an idea that it is not anymore existing in Europe, and we have to give it a life back. It is, people can change things.
But people can change things, and people in Greece tried to change them, and people are trying in other parts, smaller countries too. But we now have a monstrous bureaucracy committed to capitalism in its worst forms, and that is the European Union. Not the idea of Europe, not the idea of unity, but the European Union, which has crushed Greece, and this is the tragedy of Syriza's capitulation. So what is your line on the European Union?
I completely agree with you. We are I think the only party in Spain. We are Catalan. We are not running in Spanish elections. We are not in other parts of Spain. But we are the only party represented in a parliament in Spain which is against European Union, which is for its dissolution as a criminal structure that only works not for citizens but for banks. And it is very clear. I mean, the majority of population are seeing it, but there is no alternative. When you don't have, you cannot build an alternative to the project. That project, although it is a very bad one, it wins, and this is what it happens. So for us, Syriza was a great hope, and its capitulation is
Disaster.
is a disaster for us. The opportunity of Podemos in Spain was a great hope, but now it is very far away. Now we will try to create this republic. Maybe it is just opening an opportunity. Maybe we lose it. Maybe we never create a republic, a Catalan republic, or maybe we create it and it is a disaster. Maybe, but we have to move, and we have to, in some part of Europe and some part of the European Union, become true the sentence: people can change things. If it doesn't work anywhere, this is nihilism. So why politics? Why democracy?
Exactly.
Why parliaments? If we cannot change the things according to people, that's all. Then we go to the beach. we stop making politics in parliaments and running elections.
You know, many economists in Europe and in North America are predicting that there will be another crisis. The argument is that the 2008 crisis needed strong they don't use the language of anti-capitalism, but needed a strong reform of the system, more regulation, more control of the banks to stop it happening again. Nothing has happened which is serious. So the crisis is bound to come. And many bourgeois economists are saying this. But if there is another crisis on the same scale, then the EU and everyone who supports it really is finished. They will not be able to defend this line anymore.
I hope you're right, but they are thieves, so they can just take again more money from the public, from the state, to save banks as they did. We have denounced it many times here in Catalan Parliament. All the laws, all the legislation, all the measures that were in place before the crisis regarding speculation, regarding land market, regarding banks, finance, they are at the same point. They haven't changed anything. So they are just waiting to recover economy, to restart the same model as we had. So they did not learn anything because we paid them. We gave them the money, so they cannot. How can they learn if they don't pay their faults? If we pay for them, they will never learn, because it makes me laugh a lot when they say capitalism is working, neoliberalism is working. Yeah, because we are helping them all the time, because we are giving thousands and thousands of millions of euros every year for nothing, just for free, to make them run this economy and make great profit. So if they don't pay for it, they will never learn. They will never learn. But look, Europe is not only on this economical crisis and this non-solution project of the crisis. It is surrounded by war. It has created a border of bombs, of migrants, of massacres, of the Mediterranean Sea. Is now the biggest cemetery of the world. It is a great border. It is all what Europe has produced outside their borders: war, hunger, migrants, refugees, everything, and it is growing. And it has to do with what Europe is doing. It is just only taking care of their profit, only because there is no democratic project. There is no cultural democratic project for Europe now on the way. And we have to create it, and somebody has to start. And we think there is an opportunity. We don't say we have the truth, we are the best of the world, we will make it very good, the Catalans, but it is to break the Spanish state, to create a republic which has been fought for it in Catalonia for many years, and to try to do a different country from what is going on in Northern Europe or in Southern Europe. It is an opportunity we have to play.
Kemal Arufat, thank you very much.
Thank you that you came here. It was a great honor to have you here.